So welcome everyone to our third edition of Functional Wellness Talks with Sonja and Kari. I'm so excited for you guys to be here with us today, and we've got a really exciting topic that you're not going to want to miss. I'm really, for the most of you, you probably know Kari, and her and I had the opportunity to meet not too long ago, but we immediately realized how much we had in common, and really more so in the functional medicine, functional nutrition world. So Kari works very closely with a company called Nutrition Dynamics that actually is based here in my home state, which Minnesota, for those of you that don't know. But we just found that there's so much synergy between what we do in our companies and our mission in helping people. And she's a really brilliant when it comes to working with functional nutrition and diagnostic testing for really kind of uncovering what's going on in the world of nutritional health and also in genomics. So I could not be more excited for us to have this discussion today. So Kari, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you great. Can you hear me?
Yes, all right. So sound check is good. All right, so let's dive right in. And I know I'm so excited about this because I work a lot in the epigenetics world. And I know that there's a whole nother side of that, obviously, and that's the genomic side and the who we are and where we come from. So would you mind touching a little bit on really what that world looks like and how you integrate genomics into what it is that you do every day?
Yes, it is a really valued part that I've added into my toolbox where it's my baseline on every patient as a one-time test. It's who they are. We can look at serum and urine and all the other biological markers, and that tells you what is going on today. It doesn't tell you why it's going on. And gathering that baseline, you're really able to unravel polymorphisms that may give you tendencies to, say, hypothyroid or Hashimoto's or fibromyalgia or Parkinson's. All of these are markers that you can look at. And then once you were able to look at those markers, we have to go to the next step. And this is where our world's united, is epigenetics. We need to know what the environment is doing to those polymorphisms. Just because we identify them doesn't mean they're activated. It doesn't mean they're turned on. It means we've identified a weak link. Epigenetics is what is the next step of identifying what's weakening that link. And then once we're able to go into the nutritional epigenetic side of where we're using nutrition to protect our DNA, is how you build that biological story for each patient. And it is a very fluid system of unraveling it, but each one is very different. And I'm sure you're seeing the same things with a lot of your clients that you work with.
Yeah, I always explain it as a little like a hand in a glove. So obviously you have that fingerprint or that handprint of your DNA. And we once thought many moons ago that whatever that handprint looked like, that was what you were stuck with. And bad handprint, you're in trouble. But now we know epigenetics, so you made a really good distinction there. So epigenetics is the who we can become based on our choices in the environment. So that could include food choices, what toxins we're exposed to, the air we breathe, the water we drink, stress, sleep, exercise, believe it or not, too much or too little, disease exposure, all these kinds of things come into play when we're talking about epigenetics. But still at the root of it, we need to know what's going on and what we're predisposed to so that we can essentially put up the radar for those things and then take it a step further and actually, based on what we know about who we are, figure out what's happening at this point in time in our life. So how do you actually use genetic testing? I know you use a specific genetic test. How do you actually use this genetic test to help patients identify, for example, what kind of a meal plan they should be following? Because obviously, I think we were talking about this earlier. So I might be a good candidate for keto. You might be a terrible candidate for keto. And then intermittent fasting and some of these other big trends. So how do you use that genomic test to help determine that?
Well, the genomic test will tell you what macro ratios you should be eating. It tells you what exercise you respond to, if you need to supplement with nutrition, what supplements, and the dosing. So you're just not poking around in the dark, wasting money, hoping it's doing what you're wanting it to do. And combined, you really get a valued review from it, where when somebody says, I've been doing keto, or the old school Atkins, for years, and I've hit a wall, I'm gaining weight, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, right? They're taking all these supplements, they're doing this crazy CrossFit, they're doing all this stuff, and they're gaining or not losing, and we're kind of trained to tell them, well, you're doing something wrong, or you're not being honest, because if you're doing everything right, it's going to work. That's just not the case, and that's not how DNA works. And so once you're able to get that information back, for example, I have a patient that was around 300 pounds, had been doing this keto, no carb, low carb for quite some time, and gained 100 pounds throughout this time, just slowly for years. And finally in this place of just frustration, well, we of course go to genetics, and he needs 132 grams of healthy carbs a day. Salads, berries, right? Not breads and pastas, healthy carbs a day. Well, he had completely voided himself of that. And so by and large, he was not able to be metabolizing all the fat he's eating, let alone excretion. That was just pretty much candidate for colon cancer. And so if you're changing your lifestyle to a point where elimination stops, something's wrong. And you need to stop, because it's very important. Gynecomastia, for example, I see a lot of men with estrogen dominance and gynecomastia. Why? Are you eliminating every day? Are you this no carb, low carb person where you're not eating enough fiber to eliminate? That's why you're half man boob nation. That's gynecomastia of today. And so, right. And so looking at this patient, I saw he needed 132 grams of healthy carbohydrates. I also saw a deficiency in CYP1A1 and 1B1, which is your estrogen metabolism pathway, progesterone, pregnenolone conversions. So when that is at risk and they're not eliminating, and you see in the serum that it's elevated, genetically it's a problem. And with that report, you're going to know exactly how to address it for that patient.
So interesting. So now, let's talk a little bit more about this patient. So now he or she, right? Okay. Yeah. He, cause you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has this report with this information and found out he was doing it all wrong. So then what happened? So you were able to help him make some interventions, recommend maybe some supplements and, some more testing perhaps. So now he's on the right track. What's happened to him since then?
Well, for this particular patient, very sensitive, we were able to unravel some very serious conditions that he was referred out. And they were very serious going down this path. And luckily, he got to this point. And this is what I tell people. Why are you waiting till now to ask why? If your provider cannot tell you why, you go to the next one, just like an attorney. If you're sitting on trial for your life, you're not going to open the phone book and go to the first attorney in the A section. Your doctor is the same way. And if they can't tell you why, someone can. And it's up to you to find that why and find the practitioner that can answer it. And so I see a lot of, we'll just put it into my doctor's hands. I'll just trust my doctor. That's your life we're talking about. It's not an oil change. It's not a tire rotation. This is our life.
Great analogy. It's not a tire rotation and it's not an oil change. So I'm going to stop you right there. Hit on something so key that, and I was having a conversation with somebody this morning and she was talking about her blood pressure being high and, it's ever since she had preeclampsia when she was pregnant. And I asked her if she's ever actually looked at what's going on with her nutritional health. In other words, have you ever tested what might be out of balance to see if perhaps a nutrient deficiency could be causing your high blood pressure? And she said, what do you mean there's such a test? And I said, well, there are quite a few different kinds of things that can look at that specifically. And she said, well, my doctor never mentioned anything like that. So I think what I hear you saying, and this is what I tell people all the time, is that you have to be your own biggest advocate. Otherwise, you just fall into a broken system, which is what we call healthcare today, which is really more of sick care. I think we're, in agreement on that. Okay, so interesting. So you found a lot of things, you referred him out, and I imagine you've helped a lot of people uncover really these sort of mystery things that they were struggling with.
Most people that come to me, very rarely is an outlier come to me and say, hey, help me stay healthy. Mm-hmm. Help me stay in this great position I'm in. That's very much an outlier. It's just not what healthcare is in the United States. So when patients come to me, they're sick. They are plane wreck, train wreck, car wreck, just metabolically, right? And many times in tears, because it is very, very hard at that point, because they have done everything that their providers have told them to do. From the snack wells generation, no fat, high sugar, high carb, no correlation to heart attack there, to carb loading, oxidized stress, vascular inflammation. I don't know why you have heart attack there, right? We're always doing what someone else is telling us. But if you're only doing what other people are telling you, you're a sheep. You are not thinking for yourself. And we all have brains to be thinking for ourselves to some magnitude, and let alone we're not in the Dewey Decimal System anymore. We have good old Google that we can research and find more healthcare options than the yellow pages and the Dewey Decimal System. So.
I love that. You're just filled with analogies today. These are good. All these Kari-isms. I love this topic. It's so interesting. And I also heard you telling me, we were talking a little bit before this today, that you as a practitioner can actually help a person individualize their DNA test. So it's not like some of these that you can buy on TV or, we won't mention any names, but where you basically select, this category, the next category, the next category. But you said to me, pick like 200 things that I want to know about myself, and you can customize that for me. That's so cool. I think that that, along with epigenetic testing, which kind of, I guess, leads me to the next step to ask, so you've done the DNA test, you've identified what could happen. Now, where would you take a person down the epigenetic road in terms of testing in that space? Tell me a little bit more how you'd use that.
So with epigenetics, I usually always follow up with micronutrient to make sure the cell is accepting it. I always want to make sure of that. And then the regulation of the cell, how the cell is absorbing it and using it. And so those two areas of looking at epigenetics and micronutrients, that again is what's burdening the DNA and what is affecting you today at the same time, both those answers. And so really being able to find the patient that isn't optimate. They would rather just get all their nutrients into a personalized shake, drink it once a day. Great. Some people don't want to do that. They would rather take several supplements a day. And so it's really individualizing it of what this person is going to be most compliant doing. It isn't changing their life and flipping them upside down and saying, no cake for you. Right.
No cake for you. There's always a way to make that cake better. That's the way I look at it.
Right.
Oh my gosh, this is such great information. And so you hit on something else that was key about the DNA testing, and that, intermittent fasting is all the rage these days. But again, it's when I talk about it, and I talk about it a lot, I talk about it as one of those, we'll put it in the category of fads, but it's a fad that has science-backed research. Whereas a lot of these things, like, for example, if you go to the bookstore every January 1st, you find a whole new section of what's new in the world of losing weight and, nutrition for this particular year. So intermittent fasting has been around for a long time. This is not new information, but it keeps gaining a lot of traction in terms of, what it really can do for the majority of people. But what I hear you saying is that there's a certain subset of people, or maybe more importantly, that even if everybody could intermittent fast, that your intermittent fasting window and mine could look completely different. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so you can definitely look throughout the weight management panel. It will tell you if you're an intermittent faster. And if so, how many hours you should go. Are you a 12-hour, 14-hour? You may be somebody who needs to fast all day once a week. It really just depends on your metabolic makeup and who you are genetically. It's really interesting to see a correlation, and this is just, my experience seeing patients. I'm not making any claims, just what I've seen. Where you're looking at genetics, and IL-6, IL-10 are an issue within the GI, maybe some NF-kappa B, some muscular pain response, are all triggers in the body. Well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a hard time with autophagy. You're going to have a hard time with apoptosis. You're going to have a really hard time with cellular cleanup. And that's where M2 macrophages really get stunted. Because at that point, we're told, take an NSAID. You're in pain, you're feeling discomfort, take an NSAID.
Yes.
Right. Guess what happens? Your immune system goes to bed, and your body says, your cellular microphone, PI3K gamma, says, oh, don't worry, you're just, some issues going on, immune system, go back to sleep. Well, that cellular cleanup never wakes up to come clean up all the dying neutrophils, that cellular debris that looks like scabbing, but it's internally. And so you have this genetic profile of an inability to do it efficiently. And because you have so much inflammation and you're taking NSAIDs telling your immune system not to activate, you can never resolve it. And so you're this person creating more metabolic issues, which increases HSCRP, cortisol. Now you're estrogen deficient or estrogen dominant and D deficient. It's the pathophysiology of genetics, and it's really what's so brilliant. And to me, I don't know why anyone wouldn't use it.
Well, I can't even tell you how excited I am to have you create for me the perfect genetic test, right? It's really cool because then, I work, as we mentioned, a lot in the epigenetic space and also with regenerative fasting. And so I feel like there's such, it's like completing all the pieces of the puzzle. And obviously there are other things that fit in there, but it really gives you a great solid foundation to stand on when you know where you've come from and you know what you can change. And so the here and now becomes a little bit, it becomes attainable because I know what my predispositions are. Now I know this is what's going on right now. I literally just went through my first EBP, epigenetic biomarker profile test not too long ago. And I saw some really significant areas of needing to improve. So even those of us that quote fit in the healthy camp, we still have things to work on, and it's because we're predisposed to certain things. So I love how this all fits together, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. And I think there's a lot more we can talk about in this area. But is there anything else that you want to add about this sort of whole genetic hand in glove with epigenetic talk that we've had today?
To me, it's just so crucial. There really isn't a modality that could not benefit from it. Their patients benefit, their practice benefit. Between looking at genomics, epigenetics, understanding how to personalize nutrition, there is not a one size fits all. There's not just one fish oil amount that everybody should take. There's not one microbe and CFU account that everybody should take. That's just kind of the fallacy that we've been led into spinning. When actuality, healthcare is personalized because we are all unique in itself. And if we can't take the time to unravel the patient's biological why, we're simply offering just symptom management.
That is such a great summary. Symptom management. That's healthcare today, unfortunately. So we're here to obviously help people stay well. And Kari, if people want more information about the DNA testing, how can they reach you based on the information right behind you on the screen?
Yep, right next to me.
The moral of the story is, and this is the first time I'm seeing your cool background, and I'm so jealous because I'm going to make one myself. But so basically, get out your cell phone, everybody. Take a screenshot of her information, and if it doesn't come out clear and you're in my world, you can reach out to me, and I will make sure to give you information on how you can contact Kari if you're in Kari's world, you obviously know how to find her. So thank you for this talk today. I look forward to our talk. Who knows what it'll be next week. So I invite you all to come back and visit us again next week. Thanks for your time, everybody. Have a great day.